Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. The time is 11:11 a.m. Make a wish if you believe in angel synchronicity numbers. It's a magical, beautiful day here at Sacred Space. Behind me I have the lorikeets twittering away in the tree. I don't know if you can see them. Let's just turn you over here. Can't quite see them, can we? They're there, I can hear them. Anyway, I've put food out for them again, so we might get to see them partaking of the yummy things. Let me just turn you that way. Can you see him? There he is. Hello, beautiful boy. You come for some nummies? For some yummy mummy nummies? Of course, he says. I'm not silly. I know how to survive. Here's little boy. Say hello to the people on YouTube, little boy. Hello. Hello. Yes, it's all very scary having that camera in your face. Say hello to Kermie. Kermie's saying hello to the lorikeet. Are you talking to the rainbow lorikeet? What's he saying? He's saying, I'm the prettiest bird at Sacred Space. Don't know what he's saying, but he's got them all stirred up now. They're all stirred up. Happiness at Sacred Space. It's for the birds. Used to be for the cats on Beauregard and before that Ballarosa errands too, but well, they're all in pussycat and doggy equivalent of Valhalla, waiting for the mama T to join them one day. But in the meantime, the mama T is living her best life and out in the garden with the birdies. It was forecast rain. It was so lovely and warm out here. I thought, who cares if it rains? We're going out, aren't we, boys? We're out in the garden. I didn't get to go out in the garden yesterday because it was actually very cold yesterday. It's a bit warmer today, surprisingly. So we're making the most of every day that planet Earth and the space-time continuum affords us or gifts us or allows us. And we're taking delight in small things and great things and living joyously and abundantly, people of Earth. I've just had a shower, I've made a cup of tea and I've had some chocolate. I've been eating way too much chocolate lately. I've been very, very naughty. So I'll have to put myself on a ban, not buy any more chocolate for a while, because it's diabolical having chocolate in the house with the mama T. She's always been that way, even since early childhood, a chocoholic. Well, we have to take our small comforts and joys where we can find it, and the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl and I go way back, you know. He's been favouring me with never-ending chocolate and obesity. Well, I wasn't obese as a child. The obesity sort of crept on after adolescence. But my psychiatrist calls it my Bodhisattva armouring. Isn't he a wonderful man? He even makes excuses for me being overweight. He's a wonderful man. But he's right, you can't wrestle men to the ground and throw them over your shoulder if you're a svelte size 10 or 8. It's just not feasible, people of Earth. Wild Viking women that have to protect themselves every time they go out need to bulk up. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Besides, chocolate is a full food group, if you eat it in moderation, that is. Right, anyway, I'm not going to feel guilty about the chocolate. I'm going to enjoy reading to my wonderful YouTube audience wonderful stories from mythology. So today's stories should be quite amusing and sweet because it's titled Love and Relationships, part 3 of the mythic journey. The mythic journey. Here's a wonderful painting by Baron Francois Gerard, 1770 to 1837. Cupid and Psyche. Wow. Good old Cupid. He's not a fat little cherub baby there. He looks like about, I don't know, 14 or 15. She looks slightly older than him, perhaps 16 or 18. And, well, it is what it is, people. Love is love, even for the rainbow lorikeets. You're not eating today, my beautiful ones. Oh, well, the food's there. There's possum poop all on top of that potting bench. So they've been coming looking for their goodies, but I bring it inside now because it's bloody expensive and I don't want to feed it to the possums. Not really. They can get their own stuff. They devour every vegetable, everything I try to grow, which is a worry because for the apocalypse that they say is coming in 2027, which is only 2 years away, they're telling us now we need to save seeds. And in this wonderful climate where everything grows, you don't get anything to flaming eat because the possums and the turkeys and the wild things take it all. Honestly, I'm starved out here. I really am. It's a worry. I've even given up on trying to grow vegetables. So I sat there watching the show yesterday, freaking out. How am I going to grow food in the stinking heat with not enough fresh water in an apocalypse? I guess I won't survive. But it's all doom and gloom scenarios, and we all know it's a whole industry based on that. And if they're not making actual physical money from it, they're fucking loose feeding on our fear and doubts and zombie atrophies and abject horror. And I'm not going to feed them today. They can just, excuse my français, fuck the hell off. We're going to choose to be happy today. If the end of the world comes, as they've been predicting for thousands of years, by the way, it comes and there won't be a damn thing any of us will be able to do about it. All the wealthy, the mega wealthy, have bunkers buried under their islands and resorts and holiday escape hatches. But what's amusing about that, I've thought about that because I did think about building a bunker. How would I do that in Housing Commission? Like, get real, especially with a sewer under my house. It's not going to be much room for a bunker. By the gods. But anyway, I thought about it briefly at one stage. Sometime last year, I bought into the fear-mongering, as I do from time to time, because I worry. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior and a warrior. But anyway, I thought about it and I thought, what good is it if you're down in a bunker? All right, you might have enough food and water, you've maybe stockpiled enough to last you 10 years or so. But sooner or later, you've got to come back out. And if it's a nuclear holocaust, it takes 1,000 years to clear the air and waterways. So even the mega wealthy haven't really thought it through because they'll all be fucked. I take great delight in that, thinking they're going to save themselves by killing off the rest of the planet. And they're fucked too. Idiots. But anyway, that's why I choose to be happy, because it's all idiotic in the broad scheme of things. If you really think things through to their ultimate conclusion, there's only one thing you can do is laugh, be joyous, live your best life, be kind and compassionate and supportive of others when it's called upon and when you have the capacity to, and don't sweat the small stuff. Am I right, people of Earth? I'm wearing my wonderful t-shirt that my friend Jared made. First he made it, oh, those boobies look like they're moving. First he made it as a, selfie for me, his business's selfie sorcerer. Was he changed the name? Can't remember. Jesus, how can you promote your friend's business when you've forgotten the bloody name? Anyway, he makes his wonderful, characters from people's photographs, and he makes pet portraits as well. And they're really quite wonderful people. So he made this for me, and then for my birthday he got it made into a t-shirt. Isn't he wonderful to me? I have wonderful friends. I really, really do. And yes, he put on it my business name, Titania's Realm, which it's not really a business since I don't actually sell anything. But one day I might crack on with it, and I don't know, with the help of the gods and networking and support of influential and loving people, I might turn it into a business one day. Stranger things have been known to happen, but the fact that I'm still fucking alive at 60 years of age, by the gods. Anyway, those lovely birdies are just sitting listening to everything I say as if it's all, the most profound wisdoms and life-altering and soul-nourishing and growth potentiates. And you know what? It's quite lovely. It's quite sweet. I could say anything and they'd think it was marvellous. A bit like some of my YouTube subscribers who like me. You must like me or you wouldn't subscribe to all this cockamamie bullshit. But anyway, you have to laugh. Right, on the subject of cockamamie bullshit, let's read from Love and Relationships. Because it works for some people, just not the mama tea, you understand. When it really works, it's incendiary, darlings, but we can't go there. Too old, too tired, too blasé, and too broken and reconfigured, so I don't think it'll ever happen now with any mortal human man. Never mind. I'm not too upset about it today. Some days I get really upset and distressed, and others I'm like, freedom! So there is that. It can go either way. Charlie, my rainbow lorikeet, who is now residing in heaven, or Valhalla, or Nirvana, or wherever she went, her little soul, her little rainbow lorikeet, suitor with his missus because he was a cheating, polyamorous little shit. He's just looking at me trying to figure out where Charlie is still, I think. Hey, my beautiful boys. I don't know why they're not eating, but I guess they've probably had enough to eat, doing their own foraging as they do, being wild birds. So I won't worry about that. Love, as they say, makes the world go round. It certainly does. There's nothing more exciting and wondrous than falling in love with someone wonderful who returns a compliment, you understand. Anyway, the number of myths which tell of passion and repulsion, marriage and separation, love and rivalry, sexual fidelity and infidelity, and the transcendent power of compassion underlines the central importance of love in our lives. No variation exists on the theme of relationships which cannot be found in the world's mythology. And because human relationships are so complex, it's because we make it that way. It's supposed to be simple, stupid, but we make it complicated. The morality which myth presents is equally multifaceted. There is no greater puzzle than the mystery of why people are attracted or repelled by each other. And we often seek simple answers to questions which require a stretching of the soul to even formulate properly. The loves and sorrows of myths come in many shapes and colours, and some are distinctly exotic. But despite the fact that some of these stories may challenge many of our moral assumptions about relationships, myths about love can also offer solace in our unhappiness, guidance for our dilemmas, and sorely needed insights into why we sometimes create the dilemmas we do in our personal lives. You eating, my little snooky? My handsome little bow. The gods are so determined to give Mama a bow, they sent her two, a four-legged one and now a two-legged feathery one. It's a cosmic in-joke. Somebody up there is laughing, I don't know why. And anyway, we take our bows where we find them. Grey and pale yellow-headed with bright orange cheeks at the moment. Very, very handsome little bow he is too. Although grey's not my favourite colour, but he offsets it with his yellow head and cheeks. Don't you, little cockatiel bow? They really, I just delight in watching them outside. Like, they're happier outside actually, I think, than being in the house. But Beau's little cage that I put him outside in is very confining. So he likes his new big cage I bought him. Oh my goodness. Still paying that all off, but I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Very well indeed. Very contented. We're very contented, aren't we, little snooks? He says, I hate you, you bitch. He does, it's quite aggressive to me. He lunges at me and hisses at me and tries to bite me, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And then he looks at me like, why aren't you scared of me? I've done my best to terrorise you, Mama too. He's slowly falling in love with me though. Slowly. And the other one, Kermie, is preening and running his beak along the length of his tail. I love it when they do that. It's the cutest thing. Right, I've given them both bath water as well, but the dirty buggers won't bath. I don't know why. Weird little birds. Charlie bathed every day. She loved bathing. But then she wasn't all that well. It's probably constantly running a bit of a temperature or something for all I know, but she did love bathing. Right, where were we? The mythic marriage of Eros and Psyche is full of profound symbolism, for the name Psyche means soul, and the union between these two portrays the transformation of the human soul through the power of love. And it is indeed an immense transformative experience, especially when it's right and it's fulfilled and it's requited and it works well for you people of Earth by all the gods. Chapter 1. Passion and rejection. Sexual passion is portrayed in myth as a force more powerful than any other, capable of driving humans and gods alike into actions against their will, often ending in tragedy. Crimes of passion come to mind. It happens. It's a form of madness, but it does happen. Alas and alack. The Greeks attributed it to the workings of the goddess Aphrodite, who, through afflicting men and women with uncontrollable passions, could bring madness and destruction on those who had offended her. Yet, passion is not in itself portrayed as a negative or immoral force. It is allied with strength, courage, sexual potency, and the soul's response to beauty. It reflects the power and tenacity of the life force itself. And because it is God-inspired, it is sacred. It's why I take great umbrage when people trifle with my affections and my passions and my deep heartfelt love. Ooh, you've probably seen me being quite grumpy the last few months after the last trickster played me. I'm still, it's still a slow broiling, But anyway, motherfuckers, what can I say? You kind of have to laugh. What, me worry? Look how many beautiful men came to me in the club on Friday night. It was 4. I said there was 4 yesterday, but I forgot one at the end of the night waiting near the bar looking at me like this. A silent admirer. So there was actually 5 that I know of. There might have been more admirers that I was unconsciously aware of. But you know, I don't go there for a fuck fest, people of Earth. I don't go anywhere for a fuck fest. I'm not polyamorous and I'm not, loose in the caboose. I'm waiting for my true love. Who is that? Don't know. Have I met him yet? Don't know. Probably not. It's all good. I've just espied there's a huge broken branch hanging down from the elm tree. I'm going to have to climb on a ladder and reef that down and burn it in the fire. Always something to do in the sacred space garden. Right. God-inspired and sacred love and real passion with real men who have your back, your front and your side and are devoted and dedicated to you, not obsessive or weird or stalkerish or controlling or fucking defunct, but, healthy, loving partnerships is definitely the ideal, people of Earth. Have I ever had a loving, healthy partnership? No. So, something to aspire to. Something to aspire to. Right. Myth teaches us that it is in the manner in which mortals pursue their passions and the degree to which passion overwhelms consciousness that are the real sources of hurt, rejection, and even catastrophe. Yes, I concur with that. That's quite true. Echo and Narcissus. Echo and fucking Narcissus. The tragedy of narcissistic love. This sad myth from Greece tells of passion and rejection and shows how retaliation and revenge, far from bringing relief, only increase the agony. More importantly, it implies that if we do not know ourselves, we may spend our lives seeking this knowledge through self-obsession, which means that we are not able to offer love to others. Or if they do, it's only ever superficial and paper thin and easily torn apart by a new set of tits and ass. Just saying. There was a young man called Narcissus. His mother, anxious to know her son's fate, consulted the blind prophet Tiresias. "Will he live to old age?" she demanded. "As long as he does not know himself," he replied. So she ensured that the child never saw his own reflection in a mirror. My hair's getting curly. It's a bit bizarre, isn't it? Change of fucking hormones as I got older. That lunatic, that creep, that asshole, that stalker, that motherfucker that I used to love that died 9 years ago now. Yes, 9 years ago. Haunted me for the last 9 years. He did say back when I was 33 that when I got old my hair would turn curly. Well, it's not quite curly, but it's getting wavier. It's a bit odd, people of Earth. He gave me all these remedies to help me make my hair turn curly. Oh, did he make my hair curl? And on rare occasions my toes curl as well. I mean, you have to laugh. What a fucking idiot. But oh well, we had fun. A long, long, long time before he died. Before the love was slaughtered by him and his slut girlfriend. But you get that. You get that, people of Earth. Repeat patterns. That's why I arc up when I see patterns repeating. Not going through that level of pain. And I don't want the soul contract that means some asshole still haunts me 9 years after his death because he was that fucking obsessed. Especially since I hadn't had contact with him for 16 years prior. That's probably the longest commitment I've ever had in my entire life. A man who was a lover who became an enemy. I don't want lovers who are enemies. Love is meant to be sweet and comforting, and supportive and tender, caring, and nurturing and encouraging, aliente, por favor. And, present and accounted for, there with you, morning, noon and night, ready for action when the vibe is right. And if you've reached the point where sex isn't on the table, well, not on the table, but you know what I mean, isn't on the agenda or on the menu anymore, and you're well past the point of no return in that regard. It happens to men mainly. Can happen to women, but mainly it affects men. You want someone that's going to be a good friend and a companion to you, that you can actually enjoy waking up to in the morning and going to sleep with at night. It's complicated, isn't it? Finding someone that you actually like, apart from the argy-bargy and the frottering. By the gods. Well, I'm just thinking out loud, people. I'm just thinking out loud. The boy grew up to be extraordinarily beautiful and was loved by everyone he met. Although he had never seen his own face, he guessed from their reactions that he was beautiful, but he could never be sure. So he depended on others telling him how beautiful he was in order to feel confident and assured. It's a big mistake when mothers do that with their sons. Create fucking monsters. Ask me how I know. But I do it too. You hear me refer to my little birdies as my beautiful boys and my handsome boys, and I refer to my male friends as my handsome, talented friends, and you know, I aggrandise them to my own demise and devastation, because you know it goes to their head and they think they can stomp all over me, and then they find out. Those days are long past, my darling ones, stomping all over the Mama T, the Tanya, the psychedelic dreamer, the Viking, Jewish witch, queen in brackets, because I'm no queen, but by the gods, you try to destroy me now, you're biting off more than you can chew, because you're trying to destroy a daughter of the gods. Once you make that commitment to the gods, it's a soul contract that goes for eternity, people of Earth, and no one dares fuck with us. The reconfigured, broken, consugied ones. We have extra support, extra love flow to us to make up for the love that was lacking in other mortals. It's true. Look at me, Friday night, before I even go out. Spirit speaking to me in Spanish. I'm not even Spanish. Well, I do have a tiny bit of Spanish ancestry. Goes right back about 6 generations. You know, my great-great-great-great-grandmother, something like that. Cecilia Herbert, whew, she was a wild one. Oh, was she a wild one. Married his stepson after her. I think he was his second husband. Drowned. Married his adult son. Sounds a bit weird, but in those days, in 1800s, didn't have a lot of options to survive as a woman unless you got married. Apparently that was the happiest relationship of her entire life and lasted until she died. I think they were married 17 years. So you see, life is weird. Love is weird. Right, where was I? I don't have any stepsons, so you don't have to worry. I'm going to marry any extraordinarily young men. Although it's a bit concerning that young men are drawn to me. I had a couple of young men after me on Friday night. To keep pushing one off me. It kept bouncing into me, and I'd just hold my hand up and gently shove him off. Oh my goodness. And one of his female friends kept saying, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, oh no. Well, anyway, they're very drawn to me, but I think it's because I'm plumpy and motherly, and at some level they're looking for mama, and my voodoo name is Mama T, so gotta walk the walk and talk the talk when you work with the gods and the goddesses. Live your best life and allow for a certain amount of magic in your life. Maybe that's what they're drawn to, my wisdom and my magic. Sweet, isn't it? Oh. Anyway, where were we? Oh yes, he depended on others telling him how beautiful he was in order to feel confident and assured. Thus he became a very self-absorbed young man. Narcissus took to walking alone in the woods. thought they'd gone. By this time, he had elicited so many compliments that he began to think that no one was worthy enough to look at him. In the woods lived a nymph called Echo. She had displeased the mighty goddess Hera by chattering too much, and in exasperation, Hera had taken away her power of speech except in answer to another's voice. And even then, she could only repeat the last words spoken. Echo had long loved Narcissus and followed him through the woods, hoping just heard him fly. I heard him fly, but he didn't go to the food. Oh well, there's food there for you boys. No, not interested. I'll leave it out till tonight, till it gets dark, and then I'll bring it in. It's probably a bit stale by now too. Listen to them tweeting to each other. They're both in opposite trees calling out to each other. They're very romantic, those two. Very sweet indeed. So I got distracted by my little lovebirds, don't mind me. Love is the law, love underwill, people of earth. Echo had long loved Narcissus and followed him through the woods, hoping he would say something to her, for otherwise she could not speak. But he was so wrapped up in thoughts of himself that he did not notice her trailing behind him. At last he stopped at a woodland pool to have a drink, and she took the opportunity to rustle some branches to attract his attention. "Who's there?" he cried. "There," came back Echo's reply. "Come here," said Narcissus, becoming irritated. "Here," she echoed, and glided from the trees, holding out her arms to embrace him. "Be gone," he shouted angrily. "There can be nothing between the likes of you and the fair Narcissus." Before we continue, I'll show you the beautiful painting by John William Waterhouse, 1849 to 1917. Echo tried desperately to gain the attention of the beautiful youth, but Narcissus had fallen in love with his own reflection, obsessed by the image in the water, which he could never possess. There's a beautiful Echo, and the equally beautiful but narcissistic and therefore doomed, as all narcissists are, Narcissus. And interestingly, they made that as part of the cover on this quite lovely book. I don't always agree with their analyses, but that's okay. We don't have to always agree, do we, people of Earth? "Narcissus," sighed Echo sadly, and crept away in shame, whispering a silent prayer to the gods that this proud young man might one day know what it is like to love in vain. And the gods heard. Narcissus turned back to the pool to drink and was presented with the most beautiful face he had ever seen. He instantly fell in love with the stunning youth before him. He smiled, and the beautiful face smiled back. He leaned into the water and kissed the rosy lips, but his touch broke the clear surface, and the beautiful youth vanished like a dream. As soon as he withdrew and was still, the image returned. "Don't despise me in this way," Narcissus pleaded with the image. Oh, he's drinking. Oh no, he's bathing. Oh no, he walked through the bath and out again. But it's a start, people of Earth. Are you having a bath, little handsome beau? Look. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Come on, beau. Have a bath. Oh, come on. Come and have a night. You're going to be nice and clean for the mama too. Come on. No? Come on. Do it again for the YouTube audience. He says, "Fuck off, Mama T. I don't perform." I was hoping to catch him bathing because I've never seen him bath yet. It's close. He walked through the water. Just when we're reading about pools of water and Narcissus too. Funny synchronicity that is. Alright, if I ignore him, he'll probably go and have a bath and we might catch him en flagrant, people of Earth. En flagrant. But of course, he's not naked because he's covered in all his feathers. It's almost like he's teasing me. He's climbed up on top of his perch. It's like, "Got you going, Mama T. Got you going. You thought I was going to have a bath. Ha ha. Ha ha. Kermie, are you going to have a bath too? Yes? Can I be a clean bird? I don't know why all my birdies go into like strange things like little Beau will no longer eat vegetables, and I worry about that too. And Kermie's alright. He tried to have a bath in his water bowl the other day. That's why I'm obsessed with him. I've given them proper big baths to bathe in. I'm obsessing over them having a proper bath. Not a top and a toe, little Kermie. You have to laugh, don't you? It's a bit funny. It's a bit funny. Right, where were we? Oh, yes. "Don't despise me in this way," Narcissus pleaded with the image. "I am the one that everyone else loves in vain." "Vain," cried Echo sorrowfully from the woods. Again and again Narcissus reached into the pool to embrace the lovely youth, and every time, as if in mockery, the image disappeared. Narcissus spent hours, days and weeks staring into the water, neither eating nor sleeping, only murmuring. Poor motherfucker. He's got it bad. For an illusion, a mirage, a vanishing scene. Anyway, alas, but his words only came back to him from the unhappy Echo. At last his heavy heart stopped beating, and he lay cold and still amid the water lilies. The gods were touched by the sight of such a beautiful corpse and transformed him into the flower which now bears his name, Narcissus. It's kind of a daffodil, I believe. Or is it a cross between a daffodil and a jonquil? I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's a daffodil. It's very pretty. Pretty yellow flower. Doesn't have a scent though. Whereas I grow jonquils because I love the scent of jonquils. I love spring flowers with their beautiful aromas. Oh, and if a man smells lovely, oh, mama too, that can attract me to a man. A wonderful scent. As long as they're not like overdone with too much aftershave that just makes them smell, you know, putrefying almost with sickly sweetness, but you know, too much is too much. But a nice scent on a man, that can really get me going, baby girls and baby boys. Shh, I'm telling too many secrets though on my YouTube channel. I'll have to behave. I'll have to behave. Lest I get the wrong kinds of people excited, or worse, excite myself and then I can't go anywhere with that. Oh, poor Mama T. Poor Mama T, nothing. I had some wonderful lovers in my time. Not many, but some. Some were terrible lovers. Like my husband for 10.5 years. By the gods. Jesus, I would say, but, you know, not my religion. But, oh, by the gods. Oh, well. I made up for it over the years after that. By the gods, I was determined. There can't be anything worse than that, surely. And to be fair, I never found anyone worse than that. So there you go. It's amazing what you don't know when you're a sweet, nubile young thing at 17 and you fall in love with your first lover and you think that it's real and that it's enduring and that it's going to be the passion of a lifetime. I know it sounds cruel, but that's what really happened to me, people of Earth. And yes, it was cruel. Anyway, it shan't ever happen again. Mama T has, over years of much trauma and much suffering, developed the gift of discernment. Yes, my little Kermie. I bet you'd be a wonderful lover if I found you a girlfriend. Apparently one of the ladies that gifted him to me, or the lady who suggested that I take him on, was her friend that gifted him to me. She has an Indian ring neck female. I got very excited. I'm a mother. I really am a mother, and I do firmly believe in procreation of the species. So I looked at her and I went, oh, a female. Perhaps we might introduce her to my Kermie. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. And then she said, oh, no, I don't want baby birds. I thought, why don't you want baby birds? It would be quite lovely. I'd love to have baby birds. I love babies. I do. Sad, isn't it? Don't even have grandchildren. By the gods. Ripped off by fate again. So I thought, well, I'll be a grandmother to baby birds. But no, that's not happening. Then she made a strange statement, said something like, you can have my birds one day or something. I don't want your birds. I want to take your birds off you. I'm happy with Kermie and Bo. I really don't need any more birds, trust me on that. No more room for cages in that little room. But it was a strange statement. I don't want to take her birds off her. I was just looking forward to the romantic idea that Kermie might get some and little lady Indian ringneck might lay some fertilised eggs and produce the sons and daughters and heirs and could all live happily ever after. Oh. And then I would have had to have like hand raised them and then, you know, sold them or given them away. And, you know, that is a hassle. That is a commitment. So no, it's for the best. Kermie, you're staying an asexual celibate like your Mama T. She says, fuck you, Mama T. I was hoping to get a chance there. You have no idea what you're not missing out on, boy. We'll just leave it just like that. What you don't know you're missing out on won't bother you. says, okay, okay. Right, you gonna have a bath, little boy? You're all very excited about something. I don't know what. Must be some more birdies in the trees that I can't see. Right, anyway. So he gets turned, our Narcissus, who will also never beget the son and heir because he died from, love sickness, of his own weird illusions and delusions. You can die of a broken heart, people of Earth. It's a real thing. As for Echo, oh Jesus, we've always got competition, haven't we? By the gods. As for Echo, who had invoked such punishment on his cold heart, she gained nothing but grief from her answered prayer. She pined away until nothing was left of her except her voice. And even to this day, she is still allowed the last word. Commentary. There are many profound themes embedded in this well-known myth. Narcissus is a dearly beloved son, and his mother, anxious to know his future, consults a prophet when he is still very young. The prophet advises that if he is to reach old age, he should not know himself. So his mother, attempting to cheat fate, which is always a bad idea, people of Earth, keeps him sheltered and unaware, oblivious to the fact that in doing so, she architects his fate herself. Narcissus grows up inconsiderate and self-absorbed, because all his energy is given to affirming his identity through the eyes of others. Because he is so beautiful, everyone forgives him his arrogant behaviour. He has never actually seen himself. He only knows that everyone around him makes a great fuss of him, and therefore he assumes he is better and more important than others, treating them with disdain. Beneath his disdain is deep dependency and corrosive self-doubt. For how can we value ourselves if we do not know who or what we are? Then Echo falls in love with him. Her inability to communicate has rendered her naive and vulnerable, for only through communication can we come to know others' thoughts and feelings indeed. I abhor those that play games and don't communicate openly and directly and honestly. Cowards and curs, and also arrested development. It's a sign of weakness, the inability to express true heartfelt emotions, intentions, agendas, reasons, emotions, ways of being and existing in this world. If you don't communicate, you can't reach mutual understanding or compromise or indeed forgiveness. You cut yourself off from the very thing you need the most, knowledge. And knowledge, my friends, is power. Just have to bear this. It only happens once every few weeks. It just has to happen when I'm reading stories for YouTube. We may surmise that Hera punished her because she talked too much and listened too little, so she never truly communicated. Echo falls in love with a beautiful face. She knows nothing of his real nature. I know how that feels. Did that recently myself. Bought into the deception and delusions. It was a long fucking deception too. It only went on for about 14 years, or really only 5 years since we deepened our friendship 5 years ago. But by the gods, I'm still pissed off about that. Can you tell? Well, karma's a bitch. May he reap what he sowed, in exactly the same way as he and his cohorts did to me. Right. Echo falls in love with a beautiful face. She knows nothing of his real nature. When Narcissus rejects her, it evokes cruelty and anger in her. Well, that's fair when you've been played for a fucking fool for a very long time. It's completely normal to be a bit angry and upset. But there's no need for cruelty, people of Earth. Let the dumb motherfuckers go and live your best life. The ultimate revenge, if you are wanting any sort of schadenfreudic revenge, is happiness and joy in finding your own true love. Shed that skin like Sybil Snake came to me on 31st of October to remind me what I need to do. Timing was interesting, that wasn't it? Very interesting. The gods always know. They always let me know ahead of time, and I chose to stay in that level of sweet, sweet loving denial and illusion. Oh, blessed be. She prays for vengeance, and Narcissus is doomed to end his life as tragically as hers. In the end, both suffer. Narcissus through his self-obsession, and Echo through her mute rage. Better out than in, people of Earth. Don't ever repress your rage. Don't repress yourself. Express yourself in appropriate, life-affirming, soul-nourishing, exciting ways. Ooh, le frisson. One important lesson that can be drawn from this myth is that love can only flourish in an atmosphere of giving rather than taking, and this can only occur when both individuals are aware of themselves and able and willing to communicate. The term narcissism is used in psychology to describe a person who is unable to relate. Oh. Are we still going, people of Earth? Yes, we are. Right, we had a bit of a slippage in the space-time continuum there. Just hold on to that from now on. Right, where were we? The term narcissism is used in psychology to describe a person who is unable to relate, lost it again, to anyone other than himself or herself. This is usually the result of an upbringing in which the child is spoiled and cosseted, but never really seen as an individual, and therefore never learns to see himself or herself. If we do not value ourselves as real people, we can never trust another's love, let alone offer our own. This myth warns us that such self-obsession can lead to cruelty, stagnation, and the loss of all future growth and creative potential. A psychological death. Kimmy. The whippersnipper boys have gone away, Kermie. Hopefully there won't be any more interruptions. A child's natural self-absorption, tempered by a growing awareness of limits and the honest communication of the family, will eventually develop into healthy self-esteem. We all need to feel special and loved, but we need to feel it in relation to who we really are, not in relation to an idealized fantasy of perfection. Many relationships fail or generate great cruelty and unhappiness because both parties have never been loved as themselves. They may have been divine children, meant to fulfill a parent's dream and adored because of what they can offer the parent rather than what they are in themselves. Thus, in childhood, they have not experienced genuine recognition as individuals, and in adulthood are constantly seeking to fill a terrible inner sense of emptiness through eliciting the love of others and then rejecting it when they remember deep down that they are worthless. Echo and Narcissus are really two sides of the same coin, each mirroring the other's unreality. The unhappy love lives of many public icons bear testimony to this voracious hunger for love, which is meant to replace what was missing early in life, a sense of being real as oneself. It may be that we all have a little narcissism in us. Every human being born has a little bit of narcissist in them. It's how we survive, people of Earth. And this can impel us to make the best of our gifts. But a little goes a long way. And when self-absorption as a defense against emptiness enters a relationship, love flies out the window. Well, it's not nice to humiliate someone who loves you at a public gig, is it? Not cricket, not cool, not polite, not even having basic bloody respect. So yes, the vestiges of love that was already being chipped away at by the rivalry and the sadism, flipped right out the window that very night. Oh, all together now. Oh. But don't worry, the Mama T is very well aware that there are some people who still love me because they know I came in clean and clear, and my intentions were and are and always will be honourable. When we become narcissists, we do not see the lover. We are in love with the intoxicating experience of someone being in love with us. Then we may treat people cruelly when the old familiar emptiness creeps in, despite the lover's declarations, for we may fear their discovery of the thing we fear in ourselves. When we become echo, we fall in love with an idealized image of what we wish we could be. And we may be treated cruelly if we have so little self-value that we can only echo the beloved. And Echo's revenge only causes her more grief. She too does not grow, but remains permanently frozen in unrequited love and anger, which eats away at her until there is nothing left. Love in the shadows and the reflected and glorious bastardry is a hellscape. Ask me how I know. Sadly, it is likely that every divorce lawyer has heard the tale of Echo and Narcissus many times. And I hear the similar refrains of the stories repeated to me whenever I go out dancing. You know, one man came to me on Friday and tells me, and it was an interesting synchronicity by way of some kind of message being delivered to me, either deliberately or just randomly and synchronistically. I haven't quite figured out yet what that was. But he told me that his wife is very envious and jealous and very abusive to him and attacks him viciously when he comes home from his gigs because he's a musician. And he showed me the video of him and his band performing, which was quite lovely. And he said to me, my wife is so vicious and abusive and so insecure. And I just looked at him very circumspect. And I said, well, your marriage is over, my darling. When you're being abused for being who and what you are, your marriage is completely over. He just looked at me, sort of surprised. And I said, but I must ask you, what did you do to elucidate that level of insecurity? We all know that people in the music industry, well known for having lots of love affairs and infidelities. Did you give her cause to become so irrationally jealous and insecure and vicious? She just looked at me like this. He was actually a very nice man. I really liked him. Would have made a lovely friend. Platonic, you understand. He had a lot. I said to him, you've got a lot going for you. A lot going on there. You're intelligent and you're witty and you're articulate and you're good looking. But his marriage is most definitely over, whether he chooses to act on that or not. I certainly wouldn't stay married to someone who abuses me constantly when I'm just going about my business, conducting my gigs, you know. And he said to me, I get sluts every weekend, you know, right up front and centre, right in front of my stage. I thought, is that a dig at me? I'm no slut, people of earth. Trust me on that one. I just smiled. I said, yes, it's the nature of show business. Women get terribly drawn and attracted to the performers. That's a trope as ancient Greece. The muses and the musicians and the audience and the dancers and the Maynards. It's all part of it. Human nature. And sometimes a bit of mischief and whimsy from the gods thrown into the mix as well. The muses will dance you to your very death, people of earth. If you're a musician, they'll make you play music till your fingers bleed. If you're an artist, they'll make you create art until you're so exhausted you die. That was the real point of the muses. They weren't always a positive influence, just saying. That's why I only half-jokingly refer to myself as a muse. I don't want my protégés to die. I want them to live fully and abundantly and wildly and freely and carefree, but with genuine love and respect for their spouses and their beloved ones. Love and respect. Well, alas and alack. The next story is Cybele and Attis. The dangers of possessiveness. Pardon me. This is a stark and savage vision of... I'm just going to actually, before we begin, sorry. We're in the shade and it's cold in the shade. I'm going to move us all into the sun. Just bear with me. Right, come on, my boys. Let's get out in the sunshine. I know. Everywhere. Made a complete bloody mess of it all. Right, we'll have to move us over here. Multitasking, people. Walk and talk, walk and talk, walk and talk. Ow! He bit me. How'd you get Mama then? You mean little bird. That's not nice. No, that wasn't nice. You keep that up, I'll find you a new mother. Someone you don't bite. You little mofo. Ouch. Pulling all your water, I'm a pain in your ass. There we go. Sunshine and happiness, my boys. Right, here we are again. Back in a sacred space garden. Right. No, I'm not happy with you, Bo. You're not my Bo anymore. I'm not talking to you. Savage little basket. Right, where was I? The dangers of possessiveness. This is a stark and savage vision of jealous passion carried to excess. The tale is old. In central Turkey, Cybele's worship dates back at least 6,000 years. Oh. Yet the theme is also utterly contemporary, for it speaks of the tragic consequences of possessive love. Although the jealous lover is also the mother in this tale, many adult relationships involve unconscious feelings of infantile dependency and parental possessiveness. And it may be that we bring unresolved issues with our parents into our adult lives and enact the themes presented by the story in subtler but psychologically similar ways. Right. The great Anatolian earth goddess, Cybele, creator of all the kingdoms of nature, bore one child whom she called Attis. From the moment he was born, she was entranced by his beauty and grace, and there was nothing she would not do to make him happy. As he grew from infant to toddler to youth, her love deepened on every level, and as he came into manhood, she appropriated this manhood to herself and became his lover. She also made him the priest of her mysteries and bound him with a vow of absolute fidelity. Thus the two lived locked in a sealed paradise world where nothing could mar the perfection of the bond. Don't look at me, you little swine. He's feeling all triumphant because he managed to bite me, but surprisingly he didn't draw blood. Just pinched me somehow. That's good. Last time he bit me, I bled like a stuck pig. Honestly, remind me why I'm a mother to birdies. Anyway, it must be in my horoscope to only have children who despise me and male lovers who want to kill me either literally, physically or spiritually or emotionally or mentally. Motherfuckers. But anyway, I mean, I have to laugh because I've outlived them all, so now I get to laugh. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Little Bo. Anyway. But Attis could not be kept from the world outside forever, and one of his chief pleasures was roaming the hills. One day, as he was resting beneath the boughs of a huge pine tree, he looked up and saw a beautiful nymph, and he instantly fell in love with her and lay with her. She must have been a nymph indeed to allow that on just instance. Oh, you have to laugh. Dear goddess. Anyway, where were we? I'm just having memories of my auntie Ingrid comes to mind. Oh, dear goddess. Anyway, but nothing could be hidden from his mother Cybele, and when she realised her son, lover, had been unfaithful, she fell into a terrible, jealous rage. She struck at us with a frenzied delirium, and in his madness he castrated himself to ensure that he never broke his vow of fidelity again. When he recovered from his delirium, he was mortally wounded and bled to death in Cybele's arms beneath the pine tree where he had once lain with his beloved nymph. But because Attis was a god, his death was not final. Each spring the youth is reborn to his mother and spends the rich and fruitful time of summer with her, and each winter, when the sun reaches its lowest ebb, he dies once again, and the earth goddess grieves until the next spring comes at last. Here we are, it's winter in Brisbane, Australia. So Cybele is grieving for Attis, and Mamati is not grieving anymore because she's done with sad, turgid, squalid, vicious, sadistic, backstabbing, treacherous mofos, and life is beautiful at sacred space. My darlings, it really is, truly, I'm not even being a smartass, it really is. I had a wonderful time on Friday night. I'm so glad I went out. I was in my traditional winter hibernation for the previous 5 weekends. I didn't feel like going anywhere. It's most unusual because I love to go dancing. It gives me reason to be alive sometimes, just to have that one night being out in the world amongst some lovely friends. Anyway, commentary. The incest between Cybele and Attis need not be taken literally. The intense bond between mother and child is wrought of many feelings, sensuous, emotional and spiritual, and it is neither unusual nor pathological for a mother to look into the face of her newborn baby and find the child beautiful. I must admit, I thought my children were beautiful. Crystal especially was an extremely beautiful child. She had big blue eyes and really long lashes, and when she cried the little teardrops would stay on the tips of her lashes, and she would look at me. And I've even got a photo of her in that state where she'd gone to a professional photographer, and for some reason, I don't know why, probably overwhelmed, she started crying, and it's one of my favourite photos. Not that I want her sad, but it's one of my favourite photos of her just in this moment of just the teardrops dangling off her amazing eyelashes. Oh, my daughter's exquisite. Not just because I brought her forth into the world, because I'm not a narcissist, people of Earth, but, just because she's an exquisite looking woman, And Jasmine's also very beautiful, very beautiful. She looks more like my husband's family. She looks a lot like my father-in-law, actually. Very beautiful. I wouldn't know what she looks like now, though. I haven't seen her since 2015, so it's a tragedy, isn't it? Another tragedy. So much loss, and so much betrayal, and so much abandonment and neglect and ugliness. Sometimes I even wonder why I'm still alive, people of Earth. But we mustn't think that, because life is exponentially getting better and better and better, and I'm even surfing the heartaches better than I used to. And or they're losing their sway over me, because the whole world is altered permanently and declining. And to be fair, sometimes I have a little bit of schadenfreude looking around thinking, all those evil, dirty, perverted motherfuckers that went over and beyond the call of duty to destroy me have only destroyed themselves. Sad but true. Sad but true. Nor is it unusual or pathological for the bond between mother and child to be echoed in later life, when a young man or woman may seek in the arms of a beloved qualities and emotional responses similar to those experienced in early life. Most loving relationships contain elements of nurturing and dependency. It is, in the end, a question of whether there is also room in the relationship for equality and separateness too. The tragedy of this myth lies in the absolute possession Sibylle seeks to maintain. Oh my goodness. Are you a happy boy? Sibylle seeks to maintain over her beloved. While this too is not uncommon in adult relationships as well as in mother-child bonds, the psychological consequences can be deeply destructive if the possessiveness is not acknowledged and contained. So there were two men I noticed on Friday night, consciously or unconsciously, being quite possessive of me in a sweet way, sometimes a protective way. I won't name names, but one of them is very protective indeed and quite sweet. Also unavailable because he has a partner, you understand. So I just watched with interest as he watched over me, and I'm grateful for that he does watch over me. But he was not happy. I could tell. He was not happy when I had all that male attention. I was like, well, come on, give the girl a break. I mean, I might actually find someone that's honouring and loving and kind one day out in that space. The chances of it happening are fairly unlikely, but stranger things have been known to happen. And the other man was a Brazilian man that approached me and was quite determined to be in my energy and enjoy my company, and he was a nice enough fellow. But did he get jealous when I was showing attention to my woman friend Hayley and to my male friend Alex? He was quite threatened. I thought, you don't even know me. You've just met me this evening. You've barely known me for longer than 5 minutes, and you're already acting possessively and jealously and controlling. And I thought, not going there, girlfriends. Anyway, you can imagine how relieved I was when he went off with his other female friend from, their little singles group. It's like, phew. I would have had to have gently and politely told him to back off anyway. So I don't want a man who's obsessive and possessive and controlling and, quite frankly, aggressively, demanding of my attention. It's not healthy, and it's not cricket. I'm quite sure he'll rock up again sometime, and I'll be polite and pleasant and dance with them like we did, quite happily. You can dance with people and have a bit of fun. But when they show early signs like that, you haven't even formed a fucking relationship with them. It's a bit alarming, people of Earth. A bit alarming. But, it shows that my therapy, 30 years of therapy, has paid off, that I'm actually seeing the red flags very early in the piece. Partly because they were so blatantly obvious. So I feel pleased about that, because it too protects me from getting involved with someone that's not safe and not suitable. Down the track, of course, they're all lovely in the beginning, aren't they? People are so good at masking. That's the part that's the most damaging, is you fall in love with a mask. When you remove it, you meet the demon underneath. Well, some kept that mask on for a very, very long time. And I was even willing, I'd already observed the demon underneath, by the way, to continuously keep the love burning, even for the demon underneath. But it became untenable when you crossed my line, which was quite deliberate and calculated, by the way, because they know there's a line you don't cross with me. So it was ugly and evil. Truly ugly and evil. But let us continue with the story, because Mama T is well accustomed to ugly and evil, because I was raised by that. Doesn't really faze me, people of Earth. It's just another distressing and bitter disappointment, you understand. Cybele cannot allow Attis to be an equal partner. She wishes him to be bound to her alone, utterly dependent on her, and unable to have his own life apart from her. We may see echoes of this pattern in any relationship where one partner, male or female, resents the other's independent friends and interests. There may be jealousy of a partner's commitment to work or creative endeavours. There may even be resentment of the partner's withdrawal into his or her own thoughts. That used to drive my mother crazy when I went into my own little psychedelic dreamer's world and had my own creativity and my own thoughts. She completely wanted to subsume me at every level. She was both a narcissist and a psychopath. And I abhor being subsumed and destroyed by any mortal living creature. This is not relationship, but rather ownership, indeed. Such absolute possessiveness invariably arises from deep insecurity, which makes the individual feel threatened by any separateness existing within the bond. And such profound insecurity can invoke intensely destructive feelings, especially if the insecure person, like Cybele, has nothing else in life except the beloved. That's why it's very important to have separate hobbies and separate friends and even separate vocations, and be like two trees, pardon me, growing together but separate. Khalil Gibran in The Prophet. Very important to have that equality and separation, but deep love and regard and support and nurturing and respect for each other, but not to the point where one overshadows the other and suffocates them of all nourishment, spiritual, emotional, physical. Cybele's revenge on Attis's infidelity, which is, in essence, an attempt on his part to establish an independent male identity. Yeah, I can see that. I was watching that musician that introduced himself to me on Friday, going off with both musician friends going off with that woman, and I was like, you're just acting out, and that's going to go very, very bad, very, very quickly, but not my monkey, not my circus, not my business to judge or intervene. I merely said to him, have you given cause for your wife to be so insecure and jealous? Because there's two people in any relationship, and there's always fault on both sides, people of Earth. Sybil's revenge is to drive him into self-castration. This is a frightening and brutal image, and fortunately it is generally limited to the world of myth. But there are subtler levels of self-castration which may occur in everyday life. If anyone seeks to undermine the partner's independence through the power of emotional blackmail, that man or woman has, in effect, attempted to castrate the partner's potency in life. Like a certain person that tried to stop me from moshing, for example. And if the partner colludes because of the fear of losing the relationship, which I did do for quite some time, about 6 months, and I realised, wait a minute, it's my body, my neck, my wild dance, my joy, my freedom, my self-determination, my creativity, my soul expression. So I reclaimed my mosh, and the friendship unravelled within. How long did it take? About 5 months. It was a slow burning unravelling because, I did love that friend very much. And if the partner colludes because of the fear of losing the relationship, we weren't sexual partners, by the way. Just want to keep reminding everyone of that. Then Attis's self-castration has been accomplished on a psychological level. The madness of Attis may be glimpsed in the emotional confusion that psychological manipulation can create when it is imposed on any individual who is not sufficiently conscious or emotionally mature to see what is being done. Oh, we're going to fall down in a minute, hang on a sec. Imposing feelings of guilt, criticising, emotional and sexual withholding as a power ploy, and isolating the partner through subtly interfering with friendships and outside interests. These are all methods through which present-day Sibyls, male or female, may drive their partners into a state of uncertainty and self-doubt. Intense passion and insecurity make a bad mix, for out of this mix arises the kind of possessive love this dark myth illustrates so graphically. Perhaps the insecurity must exist on both sides, for otherwise Attis would break free and make a new life. Indeed. Cybele has the power to drive him mad because he needs her so absolutely. He is still a psychological infant and cannot bear to be separated from her. The dependency which he feels is that of a child for a parent. When we bring such intensely dependent feelings into our adult relationships, we may open the door to a great deal of suffering. Unless we can cope with being separate, we cannot withstand another person's attempts to manipulate and bind us. Nor, cannot withstand another person's attempts to manipulate and bind us. Nor can we refrain from attempting to manipulate and bind others in order to keep them close to us. Caught in such a net, we cannot fully live our lives, but must give away the power to shape our own destiny because we are frightened of being alone. That's my superpower, people of Earth. I'm never frightened of being alone because I've lived alone for 30 years now, going on for 31. When did I separate from my husband officially? 2nd of January 1995. So what is it now? July. 30 and a half years. I can survive alone. It's not easy, and at times it's bloody fragile making and terrifying, especially when there's cyclones and dead pets and lost friendships and lost daughters and lost stability in our fabric of society. It's fucking terrifying to be alone. But I'm not weak, and I'm powerful in my own core, and I don't suffer fools for too long, especially when they're being concurrently vicious. Neither Cybele nor Attis can bear the fundamental human challenge of independent emotional existence. Thus they cannot become lovers who truly respect and appreciate each other's otherness. They doom themselves to a psychological state of fusion, which results in the cyclical repetition of betrayal, hurt, confusion, and self-destructiveness. This myth teaches us that it is not passion alone which unleashes tragedy, but the unwholesome mix of passion and the inability to stand as a separate human being. Indeed. Just see how many more stories we've got to go. Right. Samson and Delilah succumbing to temptation. The biblical myth of Samson presents us with the tragic results of misplaced passion and may be interpreted on one level as a moral injunction against succumbing to temptation. But the mysterious relationship between Samson's strength and his hair and his blinding at the hands of the Philistines reveal deeper meanings which may teach us more about the role passion plays in self-discovery than about the moral rules by which society deems we should live our outer lives. Before we continue, I'll just show you the painting of Samson and Delilah by Gustave Moreau, 1826 to 1898. Mama T is very fond of long flowing locks, even on men. Manoah the Israelite suffered because his wife was barren and they could not have a son. So Manoah prayed to the Lord. The Lord heard and answered, and Samson, Shimshon in Hebrew, was born. Samson grew tall and strong, and the Spirit of the Lord began to move him to great anger as well as great feats of strength. One day he saw a Philistine woman and wanted her for his wife. But at that time the Philistines had dominion over the Israelites, and his mother and father asked him why he could find no woman among his own people. But Samson, or rather Shimshon, was determined, and his anger was a source of fear. So in the end, he took the woman as his wife. Later he tired of her, and she was given to one of his companions. But it came to pass that Samson visited her, and her father would not permit him to see her. In his anger, Samson set fire to the standing corn of the Philistines. When the Philistines found that he had done this, they burned his wife and her father to death in revenge. In retaliation, Samson slew many of them, and they tried to defeat and capture him. But the Philistines could not conquer him, and thus the ground was laid for bitter and unending hatred between Samson and his wife's people. One day Samson went up to Gaza and saw a harlot. He lay with her, and the Philistines waited to kill him as he left, but again they could not conquer him. Then he saw and loved a woman whose name was Delilah. She's one of my favourite of all biblical female characters. The rulers of the Philistines approached her and asked her to entice him and discover for them where the secret of his great strength lay, so that they could prevail against him. And they offered her 1,100 pieces of silver. Delilah tried and tried to get Samson to tell her his secret. It came to pass that he became so vexed and sore from all this importuning that he told her all his heart. He told her that if his head was shaven, all his strength would go from him. And Delilah sent for the lords of the Philistines and told them Samson's secret, and they gave her the pieces of silver, as agreed. Then, while Samson was asleep in her arms, a man came who shaved off the 7 locks of his head, and Samson's strength went from him. When Samson awoke, the Philistines took him and bound him with fetters and put out his eyes. He was put in the prison house, and all the Philistines rejoiced because their great enemy was conquered. He languished in prison for a long time, and then he was brought before the people for sport. But in that time, Samson's hair had grown again. He was set, bound in chains between the pillars of the palace, where 3,000 Philistines had gathered to mock and laugh at him. Samson called upon the Lord. And he took hold of the pillars on which the palace stood. Bowing himself with all his might, the whole building fell down upon the Philistines. Although Samson was killed, his enemy was vanquished. Commentary. The obvious moral implications of this tale need no elaboration. Samson errs, first by choosing an unsuitable wife, second by aggravating the enmity between the Israelites and the Philistines, third through his passion for Delilah, another unsuitable lover, and fourth through foolishly revealing his secret to her. He pays for his sins and in the end is redeemed through the destruction of his enemies. But we need to look more closely at both the details of the story and the character of Shimshon himself, if we are to understand the insights it offers about the nature of passion. From the outset, Samson is an angry man. The Spirit of the Lord, which moves him to excesses, is an ambiguous spirit because it makes him violent and self-willed. Like many Greek heroes, Samson is afflicted with hubris. In other words, he does not understand self-restraint and therefore does not seek to contain what drives him from within. When he wants something, he must have it, and this includes choosing a wife from amongst his enemies. Love is not the issue here. What we see is a passion fueled by physical attraction which Samson, driven by his instinctual needs, must fulfill. When he tires of his wife, he puts her aside. When her father understandably will not allow him to see her afterwards, he wreaks havoc on the Philistine cornfields, and tragedy ensues. In short, Samson is not a likable character. He is violent, self-willed, and unfeeling. He is the architect of his own tragedy. For Samson, temptation is bound to succeed as he has no capacity for reflection. He is not suspicious of Delilah's persistence because his emotions and instincts drive him. In the end, he reveals all and thus loses his strength. Hair, short, long, dark, or pale, appears in the symbolism of many of the world's myths. Even historically, its symbolic importance is clear. The Merovingian kings of France, for example, did not cut their hair because they believed it was a mark of their God-given royalty. Freud associated hair and dreams with sexual potency and strength. To have one's hair cut in dreams can be an image of impotence. But Freud notwithstanding, we should remember that Samson's strength-producing hair grows on his head, and this is the seat of the mind. Hair may be linked with one's thoughts. It is a symbol of the individual's power of reflection, which shapes and directs one's will and worldview. Our strength, in other words, lies in our capacity to think, to perceive the world, and process it through our own consciousness. Only in this way can we contain our destructive impulses and avoid sinking into blind emotion. In allowing himself to be driven by physical passion, Samson gives away his independent consciousness. His hair is symbolically lost long before it is physically cut, because he ignores the power of reflection in order to feed his passions. His undoing lies not in feeling attracted to women, nor even in pursuing that attraction in unsuitable places. It lies in the way in which he freely abandons all capacity for reflection. As a result, Samson is imprisoned and blinded. Blindness in myth is often linked with inner vision and with the understanding that comes from turning one's eyes away from the outer world. Little Bo is sleeping. The blind prophet Tiresias in Greek myth, whom we met in the story of Narcissus, is an example of the wisdom which results from turning one's focus inwards. The self-blinding of Oedipus is also an image of self-discovery. In prison, Samson learns to look inward, and what does he find? His hair grows again. He gains a capacity for thought and reflection. He prays to the God he had forgotten, and his strength returns. We may surmise that, on the psychological level, this powerful man, accustomed to brutally claiming what he wants, is forced by life's limits and his own failure to recognize who and what he truly is, and to remember what ideal he really serves. What can this teach us about passion in everyday human life? We need to balance its blind power with inner sight, with reflection, and with a recollection of what ideals really drive us in life. Through the mistakes, messes, and hurts we inflict and receive through pursuing our passions without reflection, we are humbled and forced to turn inwards indeed. In this way, we may regain our strength and recover our individuality. Samson's death may also be taken symbolically, for in such a humbling recognition we too undergo a kind of death. We must let go of our arrogance and self-will and recognize life's limits. The story of Samson reveals the transformative effects of passion, which can lead us into suffering, but also into self-revelation and a new understanding of ourselves and life. The next story is titled The Enchantment of Merlin. Deception attracts a deceiver. Rationality and even intellectual brilliance may not be an antidote to passionate love. Although we may need to reflect, we cannot silence our hearts or our bodies through the power of reason alone. In fact, attempting to use the rational mind as a defense against passion may make any individual particularly vulnerable to blindness in relationships. Even Merlin, the great magician of Celtic myth, was helpless in the face of his passion for a certain woman. Merlin was King Arthur's advisor and friend, and his magical powers were awesome. Not only was he wise in all herbal lore, he could also foresee the future and was a shapeshifter, able to appear in many different forms, such as an old man with a sickle, a young boy, a beggar, and a shadow. He guarded his powers jealously and was never known to share either his wisdom or his bed with any woman. But perhaps because he did not allow himself to know women, he did not truly know himself. In the end, this wise and skilled enchanter met his undoing through the honey trap of love and sexual desire. One day Merlin met a beautiful maiden. Her name was Nineveh, and although Merlin was by this time an old man, he fell desperately in love with her the moment he saw her. In order to impress her, he took the form of a handsome young man and boasted of his prowess as a powerful magician. He conjured fabulous illusions out of the air, hoping to win her admiration. Knights and ladies courting, minstrels playing, young knights jousting, and fantastic gardens filled with fountains and flowers. And the young woman simply stood and watched, but said nothing. Before we continue, I'll show you the painting of The Beguiling of Merlin by Sir Edward Burne-Jones, 1833 to 1898. The unhappy Merlin followed Nineveh everywhere, trying to win her love by revealing the secrets of his magic. But in the end, she imprisoned him with the very spells which he himself had taught her. keeping a little mystery back for yourself comes to mind. Give too much away. Familiarity breeds contempt. Yes, I've lived that trope too many times too, my darlings. It's no wonder I suffer from chronic fatigue and recycling depressions and complex PTSD. There's much to be bitter and distraught about. But we have our stories and the beautiful garden and the birdies, blue skies and the gods. To remind one, life is yet still worth living in all its magic and mysteries. Merlin was so preoccupied with making an impression that he failed to notice that Nineveh did not return his feelings. Yet she promised to become his lover if he shared with her the secrets of his magic. He eagerly agreed, believing he had found a devoted disciple as well as a lover. I had a young man one time. Where did I meet him? Was it when I was going to the clubhouse? I can't remember. Asked me if I would take him on as an acolyte. No, it was a young man, a young gay man actually. It was very strange. That followed me, was walking with me on my long walk back to the uptown centre where I parked my car. For the first year and a half that I was going to the Brooklyn Standard, I stupidly didn't realise there was a car park right next door. So I used to park there and walk 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back at the end of my night, which was quite dangerous at times. Weirdos would follow me. Anyway, that particular weirdo was a very nice man. Off his chops he was. Told me that he was a heroin addict and that he was on methadone and in recovery, which was a bald-faced lie, because I observed he had fresh tracks. And I know this from, helping to defend and protect a former friend's daughter who was a heroin addict. So anyway, he walked. He didn't do anything harmful to me. He was actually a very sweet person. And so I decided that we would share something to eat together. I was hungry at the end of my wild night of dancing. And so I suggested that we share, some Hungry Jacks. So I bought the food and he bought the drinks and we shared a meal together. And he was very lonely and very broken young man. And he said to me, he said, "You are a witch." I said, "Who told you that?" He said, "I can tell by your energy and your power and how you present yourself." I said, "Oh, that's interesting," I said. And then he asked me if he could be my acolyte and if I would teach him everything I know. And I said, "The power, my darling, comes from within, and it's only for you to discover under your own merits and your own timing. It's not something I can teach you." He was bitterly disappointed. And then I took my leave of him because by then I was extremely tired and it was 3 o'clock in the morning and there were too many psychos milling around the square outside, in the Queen Street Mall outside Hungry Jack's, where we were sitting and enjoying quite convivial, congenial company. And I said, "I must go now. I'm going to my car." And then he followed me to, the entrance to the car park, which got a bit worrisome, and asked if he could come home with me. But I remind you that he told me he was gay. So then I got a little bit concerned because why would a gay young man want to go home with an older straight woman, and it just got a little bit uncomfortable and unsafe feeling. So I said, no, you can't come home with me, it's not appropriate. He got very upset and ran off into the night. Never ran into him again out in the sea. But anyway, it was a very strange thing when he asked me if he could be my acolyte. I must say, I've never had anyone ask me that before. Kind of spun me a bit on a dime, to be honest. Anyway, it was a strange encounter, but it was equally a kind of a soul nourishing one until it got a little bit too weird when he wanted to come home with me. But yes, it was a very strange encounter indeed. But this is what happens when I go out for the evening. I often have rather strange encounters, and more and more stranger and bizarre and sometimes frightening since the COVID epoch 5 years ago. People are not always quite right in their own minds. More and more I see it. The narcissism has increased exponentially. It used to be a very rare disorder, very rare indeed. Well, it used to be something like 1 in 20, now it's pretty much 1 in 4. Very, very concerning, that. And the undercurrent of threat waiting for people to turn on a dime is also increased exponentially. And as I say, I love to go dancing on the weekend, and it's my one interaction with the external world of humans, and being out in the night and have a few drinks and dance my wild dance. But it is often also quite confronting and challenging and a bit frightening at times, which is why I appreciate it when I'm, protected and watched over by my true loving friends. Although that doesn't mean that I encourage too much possessiveness, because I am actually out looking to find, someone that's suitable to be a lover or a partner to me, preferably a lover and a partner, because what good is a quick frottering in a night that fizzles out by break of dawn, people of Earth? That's why I've been an asexual celibate for, this stretch. It's been over 10 years now. 10 fucking years of no fucking, because I won't be used and abused by any male. Simples. And it drives some of them crazy, and they take it quite personally that they were rejected, but they didn't think once that they should perhaps treat me, with genuine, authentic love and kindness, and date me and make me feel a bit special and seduce me in the most appropriate ways. And they certainly had no intentions of following through. I already knew that, darlings. I'd seen the modus operandi before of other women that were damaged by that entity. So Mama T was not going to fall for that trap. She almost did though, because the love was real, at least from my side of things. Oh, poor Mama T. But she's kept pristine and sacred like any muse and warrior goddess for the man worthy of her, whose love will be enduring and wholesome and passionate and romantic, but also kind and honouring and not possessive or controlling, people of Earth. Bring that into the relationship and it's already doomed from the very beginning. Mama T has spoken. I have no desire to possess or control any other mortal either. It's actually quite boring and quite a lot of emotional labour. And who needs that shit? You want to be free as two tall trees loving each other, honouringly and respectfully. Too many birdies in that tree competing for attention and too much fucking around. The tree stands tall regardless, but the birdies must all fall away. Not quite literally, you understand, but figuratively speaking. I'm watching my little bitey beau strutting his stuff, feeling happy today. It's wonderful. As he starts chewing to sharpen his beak on the edges of the wires of his cage, keeping them nice and sharp for Mama T's fingers. Mean little beau. Mean little beau. Right, where were we? Devoted disciple as well as a lover. I know, you're a pretty boy too. It's going to rain soon, Mama's got to finish up. Nineveh proceeded to coax more and more knowledge from him, learning all his spells and magical recipes, yet forever withholding herself and frustrating his desire. Merlin, in his wisdom, gradually understood what was happening and knew that he was being tricked and deceived. Well, the only reason why I withheld my sexuality was that man was married and I had no intention of destroying a family. Even though they have no children, you understand. When you're married, you are indeed a family to each other. Well, that's how it's supposed to be anyway. Yet he could not help himself. Seeing clearly what the future held for him, Merlin then went to King Arthur, warning the king that the end was near for his trusted advisor and enchanter. The king was baffled and demanded to know why Merlin, with all his wisdom, could do nothing to save himself. Merlin replied sadly, "'Tis true that I know many things, yet in the battle between knowledge and passion, knowledge never wins." The unhappy enchanter, burning with unrequited passion, followed Nineveh everywhere, like a lovesick adolescent. Pardon me. But Nineveh never granted him his desire. She always promised and tempted, elicited yet more secrets, and withdrew again. Finally, he committed the folly of teaching her the secrets of those spells which can never be broken. In order to please her, he created a magical chamber hollowed into the great Cornish cliffs high above the sea and filled it with unbelievable wonders. He intended it to be a glorious setting in which they might finally consummate their love. Together they walked through a secret passage in the rock and approached the chamber hung with gold and lit by hundreds of scented candles. You've got to give him credit. The man's got style, hasn't he? Merlin entered, but Nineveh lingered outside. Then she pronounced the words of a terrible spell that could never be broken, a spell she had learned from him. The door to the chamber closed and Merlin was trapped inside forever. As Nineveh moved away down the passage, she could hear his voice faintly through the rock, begging for release. but she took no notice and continued on her way. They say that Merlin is there in his gold-hung chamber even to this day, just as he knew he would be. Built himself a golden cage to preserve his unrequited love in for eternity, my darlings. Commentary. This well-known myth of the enchantment of the great enchanter can be seen reenacted in everyday life. Look at those relationships where one individual, man or woman, has managed to avoid the pain, joy, and transformative power of passion for many years, only to finally succumb to a passion which proves unrequited or destructive. There's no fool like an old fool, the saying goes, but this truism does not apply to everyone who has reached the latter part of life. It is applicable only to those who have managed throughout their youth and early adulthood to avoid getting their hands and hearts stained with the confusion and ambiguity of powerful emotional and sexual needs. Such individuals ultimately cannot cheat nature or their own natures, and often fall for unsuitable love objects when it is too late to learn the wisdom that only direct emotional experience can bring. In Merlin's jealous guarding of his secrets lies the seeds of his undoing. The enchanter is frightened of vulnerability and depends on power to sustain himself in life. Where there is a craving for power, there is little room for genuine relationship. This is true, mofos. Just saying. Merlin has used his impressive intellect and knowledge to control life, rather than allowing himself to experience it and be changed by it. We too may attempt to control our passions in this way because passion makes us vulnerable. When we need another person intensely, we are no longer in control and are at the mercy of whatever life brings us. For those who have been wounded in childhood and have learned to mistrust love at an early age, knowledge and power may be the favoured means by which they protect themselves from being hurt. Yet such a hard defensive shell can leave us childlike and naive underneath. We cannot grow up because we will not permit ourselves to go through those experiences of frustration and separation which might mature us. Hence I married my first boyfriend and delayed all my emotional, sexual, sometimes mental development by cleaving to fidelity to a man who was incapable of loving me with any real passion or any real sensitivity. And so my journey to discovering about love came very late in life, at the age of 30. And 30 years later, after all the vicious, life-threatening attacks on my life in my 30s and up to 40s, wow, I'm a crusty, cantankerous, cynical, embittered, wild woman now, who still miraculously has the capacity for great, great love at the appropriate time with the appropriate person. Thanks for the reminder. I won't name him. He's probably still watching my videos out of narcissism and bald-faced curiosity, but he knows who he is. Thanks for that cruel, vicious reminder to you and your beloved wife and your putrescent mistresses as well. It's a timely reminder. So, ironically, I'm grateful to you for setting me free of your foul ignominy towards me. You ought to know, baby boy and baby girl. And then, like Merlin, we are deeply vulnerable to exploitation. Or so you thought. We may often read about powerful older men who parade beautiful young women on their arms, boasting to the world through these trophy wives and lovers, that they are still virile and lovable. Yet inwardly such men may live with the constant fear that they are wanted for their power and wealth, and not for themselves, which is a terrible emptiness, people of earth. Everyone deserves to be loved for themselves. As social attitudes become less rigid and puritanical, famous older women may also be observed struggling to retain the illusion of youth through cosmetic surgery and stringent exercise and dietary regimes, parading handsome toy boys on their arms. Also, ultimately destined to be empty and one-sided. Without doubt, there are relationships between an older man and a younger woman, or between an older woman and a younger man, which are rich, loving, and totally sincere, which I'm starting to rethink my attitudes about, my ageism attitudes about fending off all the young men that seem so attracted to me in recent years. Maybe that's my destiny, to take a much younger lover. I just have to overcome the feeling of sordidity and the fear of being just used as a woman of experience, you understand. But sometimes I think about it from time to time, especially when I'm surrounded by deeply passionate and sincere and quite devoted younger men. It's starting to rain, which is why I'm trying to preserve the book and my dryness, people of earth. But there are also many such relationships in which position and power are the currency with which an illusory love is purchased. If we look at Merlin's story through psychological eyes, we may see a man riddled with deep insecurity, confident only in the power of his wisdom and magic. His quest for power compensates for loneliness and self-doubt, and he is so lacking in feelings of self-worth that, when he meets the object of his passion, he can only think of impressing her with power rather than revealing a real and a vulnerable person. This too can be observed in everyday life, for when we are unsure of ourselves, we may seek to impress with our power, money, talents, or knowledge, never realizing that in such betrayal of our real selves, we may be opening the door to rejection and hurt. In presenting ourselves as something we are not, We deceive consciously or unconsciously, and in doing so, we may attract a deceiver. The story of Merlin has much to teach us about the sad outcome of passion when the passionate individual has no real belief in his or her worth and avoids the deep and truthful meeting of equals. Did I not always say that I demand from the gods an equal lover, which any enduring love ultimately requires? Samson, the biblical hero whom we met earlier in this chapter, is in touch only with his physical desires and has no capacity for intellectual reflection. Merlin, on the other hand, is frightened of his physical desires and only trusts his mind. Only a balance between the two can provide psychological health and the potential of a fulfilling relationship. For me, it would involve finding a man who I can trust with my heart, mind, body, and spirit, for our souls belong to God. But a true soulmate, someone who will be an equal, honouring and kind and loving, and who's proud and happy to have me in his life and include me in his friends and family and, business associates or community or tribe, and they will include me too and, be happy to have me as part of their community and value me, treat me with kindness and respect, because anything less than that is a recipe for disaster, people of Earth. And I've outlived far too many disasters to dance in that small corner of hell ever again. Although ironically, I must keep dancing. It's good for me. It's good for me. And brings me into opportunities to meet lovely people and form soul-nourishing friendships. And that is worth its weight in gold, people of Earth. So on that note, we conclude today's readings. We'll come back tomorrow with chapter 2 of part 3. And I bid you adieu, and wherever you are in the space-time continuum, have a beautiful day, afternoon, evening or night. It's not raining heavily yet, but I might bring the birdies inside because it's getting cold now. So, bye for now from sacred space at Titania's realm. Big agape, unconditional, sweet love to you all, even the one who broke my heart. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.